going, I've got the list of things we're gonna talk through. So,
Yeah.
Zane, thanks for taking some time to chat. What's this all about? What are we
Well,
doing?
first, thanks for you reaching out. I was pretty excited when I saw that because I've, sort of had the same thing brewing in the back of my head for a while. Just like, there's got to be some other accountants that can just have a conversation.
So, can I share some of my thoughts on this?
Please, because I'm rambling on at this point.
Okay. So I have a bit of a contrarian view to that. So this is actually, I mean, and Zane, this is like why we chose to hop
Mhm.
on, is because I think both of us, we approach things very differently. And it's not to say that one is the right answer, one's the wrong answer. It's just to say like we both had different ways of doing things. I think for me, something that was most helpful last year, granted, I'm still small, so I'm not, the size that your business is right now, but one of the things that was super helpful for me is getting outside of the accounting and finance world to seek a coach and a mentor who thinks about things just differently than we do in the accounting and finance space. And so I actually hired a coach. He was in Austria. I think he's moving to Italy now. And through the process of getting the coaching from him, a couple of things that I learned was I'm like, oh, okay, like cold outreach can be done in a way that's not smarmy and gross. It can be done in a way that doesn't feel disingenuous, which I think, even what you had said, like the you don't want to be like cold pitched. And I'd say like a lot of people probably don't. But the difference is like nobody wants to be sold to, but everybody wants to buy. And I think like that paradigm shift really helped me to be like, huh, okay. Maybe my issue is not they need to buy from me. Maybe the issue is I need to better understand what they want to buy or what they need, right? Or what they want. And so anyway, going through this coaching program with him, a couple of things that I learned was like conversational prospecting on LinkedIn is so important, not only for sales purposes, but also to really refine my value proposition. We're going to talk about this in a little bit with our differences in billing strategy, right? We're hourly versus value pricing. But in order for me to get a really, really solid value proposition to put in front of prospective buyers, I need to have conversations with people, right? Like I need to know, like, is this actually a pain point? Because if it's not a pain point, nobody's going to buy it no matter how well I package it, you know? So I have been doing some more, cold outreach. I'm in the process right now of setting up my stuff to try out, to test cold call, which I know that's like the worst of all. Like people hate that most of all, but it still gets results sometimes. So I want to give that a try too. But I'd say conversational prospecting has been very fruitful for me on LinkedIn, reaching out to people who we have like mutual interests or a mutual connection point, and just striking up conversation and getting to know them and getting to know their business. I mean, that's how I landed my second client. And it's been working great. I mean, he himself even says, like, we recorded a testimonial together, and he even said, I'm so glad you reached out because I was very much in need of what you had to offer. And I think like stories like that help me to feel like, okay, I'm not crazy for doing this. Like I'm not crazy for trying to do it that way.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of similarities in what we're doing because I am doing cold reach out, but I'm not doing cold reach out to my potential clients. I'm doing cold reach out to their service providers that I know need help. So I like to tell people that, a lot of my referral points come in from people that have a stick. Meaning I'm a tax preparer and I can't do your tax return because your books aren't good enough. I am the bank and I can't renew your line of credit unless your books get better. I'm an investor and I'm not quite sure I totally agree with everything that you're showing me in the books. So that's the person I need to talk to. So I've come from the idea that I do cold reach out, just not to clients. I do it to the service providers, make sure the service providers know who I am, make sure the service providers have seen what we can do, and make sure the service providers trust us. So when they get in front of a set of books and they're super frustrated, they can't do what they need to do, they're like, go talk to Zane. He will help you.
Yes. And now that's one area where I think we have overlap, because I would agree with that. Actually, recently I was really discouraged because I'm like, man, I don't have. If I look at my metrics for like who's engaging with my posts on LinkedIn, which is my primary social media platform, I got kind of discouraged because I'm like, oh man, I'm like pretty much primarily reaching a lot of other accountants and a lot of other advisors. And then I just kind of had this aha moment where I'm like, you know what? But these accountants and these people, they have people in their network. They know people. And I've even had a couple instances where, because of the network with other accountants, I've got referrals coming into me that are pretty good fits. So I think there's legitimacy in finding partnerships with, like you said, the bankers of the world, the attorneys, and acquire like private equity or people who have money to buy businesses.
Yeah, I think there's 2 points in there. I think the first is, if you just purely look at interactions, you can get discouraged on LinkedIn. But what I try to do is, like, I had a lunch with a banker last week, and literally we sat down. His first thing, he's like, "Oh, I really loved your LinkedIn posts, like this one and that." And I'm like, "You never commented. I didn't even know if you're on LinkedIn, to tell the truth, but you're seeing it and you're hearing it." And that is a regular occurrence, especially with the bankers.
Yes.
I don't know if it's like they don't want to show favoritism to one service provider or what it is, but they're seeing it, they're trusting it, they're finding value in it. So, sometimes, people always like, don't get too sucked into impressions. I'm like, I think it's a pretty important one for, especially with my strategy of brand recognition. Like, if I'm getting like 100 impressions, it's probably not worth my time. I should go somewhere else. But if I'm getting more, like, these people that I'm connected to are probably seeing it. And you're just never going to know who's there, because there are just a lot of, just people who just scroll and stalk, right? Like, it's just, you don't know who's looking all the time. I mean, that's just a good lesson for everybody out there. You never know who's watching, so be careful what you say.
That's right.
Scenario. So that's important. And then in the point on other accountants, like, one, this type of stuff can happen, right? Like, we can just find opportunity to talk. But I've, when I started the reach out as well, I've made it my mission to find out who are all my quote unquote competitors. Reach out to them, be like, "Hey, good to meet you. I'd love to refer work to you." Freak them out. Unfortunately, like, most people just get like totally freaked out by it. I'm like, I want to know who the other people are. And I want to be able to, like, if I'm on a call, I can see this is maybe, the client's like, "Oh, I'm not sure remote works for me," or whatever it is. I mean, like, "Oh, great. Well, how don't you speak to, person A, person B, person C? I can introduce you. I can drop you the email address. Like, when you tell me what you want, or here's their website, you can just go check it out."
Yes.
And I want to always be able to put it there. And, part of that is that I want my competitors to be successful, because if they're successful, I'm going to be successful. I also want people to get good help. We have that overlying, better accounting for everyone. And, I believe it as well. Like, in my networking group, it's the same thing. Like, "Oh, but you only do wineries." I'm like, if you have any client that needs accounting help, reach out to me. I probably know somebody. I refer a good, 10 to 20 non-wine clients out on a monthly basis.
That's right.
To different partners. I mean, I literally just got one yesterday that I was able to refer through from my own business partner. He didn't even ask me, "Is this something we can do?" He's just like, "Hey, do you have anybody that can do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, he has a couple of names." And off he went again. It took 2 seconds. And that ability to, let people get into the right place is so important.
Yes.
And, if you're going to be a giver as well, there's going to be opportunity to receive.
That's right.
And if you close yourself off to everybody else and not make a relationship with the other accountants, the bank, or whatever they are, you're going to struggle. Like, it doesn't matter how much marketing you do. You're just going to keep hitting a wall, because as much as it might all look pretty, nobody knows who you are. If they don't know who you are, they're just not going to trust you.
I love that. And I think, one of the things that's coming to my mind is, I think I want to say last time we talked about the importance of niching, because we both have very, very distinctive niches. Mine is maybe even more of a subset of a subset.
Yeah.
But, I cannot overstate enough the importance of a niche, especially when you talk about what we're talking about here with marketing. Not even just like, how do you market your message to your ideal clients, but how do you best network with other accountants and lawyers and whoever? You are going to just blend in with a sea of other blah if you're not talking about a specific audience, right? Like if I can come to my, friends who are, I've got one person who comes to my mind who, again, is in the banking space. And if he knows that I specialize not just in technology as a whole, but in software development agencies, boom, I stick out so much more than just like the sea of other. I do everything accounting,
Yeah, and when I started out, we didn't like follow like we're gonna niche out. Like that wasn't part of it. We're just like, yeah, we'll help whoever comes our way. We'll probably always have a bigger majority of winery clients just because that's where we were born, and that's great. And I would that would also be my message to people, like, yeah, we do outsourced accounting, we do a lot of wine, and it'll be great. And then I quickly realized if I changed that message from, yeah, we do a lot of wine to, we are outsourced accountants for the wine industry, like it just changed totally. Everybody's like, oh, so you do wine accounting? Like, yeah, that's what I've been telling you for 3 years. They're like, oh, they don't like want to tell you like, yeah, your message was stupid,
right?
Be more direct. But that's what they're basically telling me, like, is that when you were sort of like, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like people like, yeah, we'll send you some work, but you don't seem committed.
Yeah. Hey, I think that's a great way of looking at it. It definitely gives the message of, I'm not committed if I'm not willing to say these are the people I work with primarily.
And I don't think being a generalist is totally wrong as well. Like I think there's totally room for that, right? But there are some very specific industries where there are complexities around it, and people, it also depends sort of where you're servicing. If you want to be purely bookkeeping, purely transactional, as little touch as possible, like being a generalist totally works. But on our side, where we want to provide value, on your scope where you're coming in and you're selling yourself as a CFO, like they need to understand that you understand what they're talking about. They want to make sure that you're as committed to the space as they are. And they want to feel that relationship like, hey, we're in this together, rather than you're just some random service provider.
That's really good. That's really, really good.